Well, good afternoon. This is Mark Milam, your mortgage professional. Let's talk today about mortgage preparedness, specifically as it pertains to gift funds. Now, there's more first-time home buyers in the market today than ever before in the history of the country, and that's fantastic news. But many of them are cash poor, and they're receiving gift funds from relatives to provide for closing costs, to provide for down payment, and even to provide for reserves. Now, if you're fortunate enough to be in that position where you can receive a gift from a family member, that's great, but it does come with a few wrinkles that you need to be aware of. And this is one of those circumstances where the borrower who's being extremely proactive and starting to move money around before they actively engage in the mortgage process can actually hurt themselves instead of help themselves. So it's important to understand the dynamics behind the scenes as it pertains to gift funds. Now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac outline the rules or the guidelines under which all lenders must adhere, even when it comes to gift funds. And what they say is that you can follow one of two paths, and the first path is really the most cumbersome of the two. Now, the first path would involve the borrower receiving the gift funds from the donor. Now, the donor is a non-borrowing family member, so the borrower would receive the gift funds from the donor prior to closing. And then it's incumbent upon us as the lender to then document the paper trail of gift funds from the donor to the borrower. That means we're going to have to obtain not just the borrower's bank statements, but we're going to have to get bank statements or some kind of paper trail from the donor to verify they had the funds to gift the borrower in the first place. Now, that sounds simple enough, but a lot of donors are not super wild about turning over their bank statements, considering they're not even on the mortgage for the property. Secondly, sometimes these donors have large deposits on their bank statements, and sure enough, if they are unsourced or difficult to source, meaning they're ATM deposits or counter deposits, then again, it goes back to the lender to verify that these funds are legitimate, that they didn't come to the donor by way of borrowed funds or an advance on a credit card or something of that nature. So you can see how quickly that a situation like this, where the borrower receives the donor's gift funds in advance of closing, can turn into a little bit of a rabbit hole. Now, this happened on a transaction this morning between a non-borrowing spouse and her husband, who was the sole borrower on a loan to purchase a new home. Now, the spouse was gifting money to the husband, and prior to speaking to me, they went ahead and shifted money from one account to another, which involved getting statements from the wife, of course, to ensure that she had the monies to give. The better way to handle the documentation for gift funds is not to transfer the funds to the borrower prior to closing. Now, I know that seems counterintuitive. You're gifting the money, shouldn't you go ahead and give it to the borrower? In fact, no, you should not. What we have the donor do is complete a simple gift letter that the donor will sign. The donor will provide the amount of the gift, of course. They'll tell us which financial institution the gift is coming from, and the full account number of that particular account where the gift funds are being held. The donor will sign the gift letter, the borrower will sign the gift letter and provide that to us, the lender. Then the funds are not transferred until time of closing. So a day or two prior to closing, we'll provide wiring instructions to the donor, and the donor will wire the funds not to the borrower, but directly to the closing attorney who's responsible for consummating the transaction. Then all we have to get from the closing attorney is match up the amounts. So it's a $5,000 gift on the letter. It's a $5,000 gift that the attorney received. And then we match up the account number. The account number was listed on the donor's letter, and the account number is listed on the wire from the donor to the closing attorney. Once we match those two items up, we are done. We have fulfilled our obligation to source those gift monies correctly. And we never had to ask for a bank statement or a paper trail from the donor. It's much less invasive for your donor if you opt for the second route versus beginning to transfer monies around prior to closing. So I hope this information's been helpful for you. If you know of, or you yourself are a first-time home buyer looking to buy your home in the near future, please give me a call at the number on the screen. Let's talk through some strategies beforehand to ensure it's a simple, seamless process to go from application to closing. I hope this information's been helpful for you, and good luck.